Hey guys, it's Edward Stevens from the Stevens Group at Reese Nichols. I'm going to wait just a moment because I'm doing this live Facebook video to answer your questions about maybe becoming a real estate agent, or if you're already an agent and you're fairly new, you might still have some questions. I want to be able to answer those in this video just based on my own experience. So I'll go ahead and wait a moment. I'm going to come back in just a minute and I'll let a couple people filter in if anybody's going to come. Otherwise, I'm going to post this on my timeline on Facebook and maybe some other social media places, so you'll be able to see it later. If you have questions in the meantime, go ahead and write your questions in this in the comment section. Go ahead and write your questions in the comment section and I will get to them or attempt to get to them during this live video. And I already have 5 questions that I'm going to answer. I put 3 of those in the description of this Facebook live video. And I'll be back in just a moment. Thanks a lot. Okay. All right. Thanks everybody for showing up here. So, hey Seth, how's it going, man? Looking forward to doing a deal with you in the coming months. So, appreciate everybody for coming, and we're going to go ahead and jump right into it. So, the first question's from Michael Bross, and these are all Facebook friends of mine. So, feel free to go check those people out afterward. And the first question that I have is, can I control how much and when I work? So that's a pretty popular question, and I think a lot of people, when they get into real estate, they have this idea that they'll be able to, since they're working for themselves, they'll be able to control when they work, the level of effort that they put into their job, where they're working. And so that's what I want to talk about first. This is a huge misnomer. I think it doesn't just occur in real estate, but probably when anybody starts their own business. Assuming you're going to go and start your own business and become a real estate agent that's a solopreneur, one-man army or one-woman army. Whether you're going to be selling widgets or you're going to be selling real estate services or you're going to sell anything, you can definitely control how much and when you work. That is totally true. But you'll find that if you don't push yourself hard enough, you're going to run out of money. Chances are you're going to run out of money. And so the fear of, not being able to make the cash come in every month is going to drive you to work more than you probably want to. And it's going to make you drive out further and work at places that maybe you don't necessarily want to, because it's more important. It's going to be more important for you to make money and keep your business afloat and keep your own personal finances afloat than it is going to be to take weekends and holidays off. You can totally control, what clients you work with. If you choose to not take and work with a client because they're too far away or because of something else, you can totally do that. But in the beginning, I highly recommend that you eliminate the word no from your vocabulary and take every single opportunity. Now, I'm telling you that because there's too many people that when they start a business, they become picky about what they want to do and they have some preconceived notion of how they think they're supposed to make money as a whatever. In this case, as a real estate agent. Oh, well, I don't work land listings. Oh, well, I don't work in that city. Oh, well, I only deal with upscale neighborhoods, or oh, I only deal with people who have a certain amount of money to spend, or I only deal with people who have excellent credit. Well, if you do that, you're going to probably whittle away 80 to 90 to 95% of the opportunities that are going to come your way. So when I started out, which was it's a little bit less than 3 years ago, I never said no to an opportunity. I'll tell you, I very rarely said no to an opportunity. And I still remember one opportunity that I said no to, and to this day, I regret it. And I'll tell you what it was. There was an agent who said, hey, I'm going to be busy tonight. I've got a buyer who wants to see a property out in Raymore. Will you go to Raymore? And I passed. And that was at a time when I could have used the money. And I chose not to because I thought Raymore was too far away. I live in Olathe, but I chose, to not go to Raymore to show a buyer a home. And the lead client, buyer, whatever, went somewhere else, went to another agent. The agent showed one house, wrote the offer, and made about $7,000 that night for showing that house and getting the deal done. But first of all, they didn't get paid $7,000 because they showed a house. They got paid $7,000 because they were open to receiving an opportunity to work. And so if you keep that in mind and you keep your options open and you don't say no to opportunities when they're coming to you, then you're going to make the money that you want to make. As long as you're open to the possibilities, you do it. When somebody gives you an opportunity, you go out and do it, you give it your best shot. And is that going to affect how much time you spend at work? Totally. But it's all about what your goal is. If you want to spend 40 hours a week at work, you could do that in real estate more than likely, but you'll never be able to make the really, really big money if you're going to, first of all, set limitations on, I only want to work this many hours a week. I only want to work these many days a week. It's not going to work. People who are looking for realtors, buyers especially, they want somebody who's available. There's so many people who go on vacation as real estate agents. If you're a buyer and you're a serious buyer and a home comes onto the market, or you need to move immediately, you're going to pick the second or third or fourth best real estate agent if he's the only one that's available. And the home is going to be sold to somebody else if that person doesn't go out and get the job done. So simply by making yourself available, you're setting yourself up to succeed in this business. And yeah, open to receive an opportunity to work sounds so simple. It does sound simple, and I'm in a unique position because I'm not married, I don't have children, so maybe it's a little bit easier for me to say that than it is for somebody who's married. Let's say they have a couple of kids, they have a husband or they have a wife, and they're in a different spot in their life. But I know this much, if you want it to happen, you can make it happen. If you don't want it to happen, you will have every excuse in the world for why you weren't able to show that buyer, why you weren't able to go on that listing appointment, etc. One final thing about that before I move on to the next question. Working with buyers and working with sellers is very different. A lot of real estate agents have figured out that by working with sellers, you have more control over your day. You have more control over the area in which you work, the time of day, and the number of hours that you put in. If you work with more buyers, or some people work exclusively with buyers, they are typically going to be pulled at a moment's notice to go look at homes, to write offers, to this and that. It's a more reactive role. You're reacting to the market. So if you're a buyer's agent and you're with a buyer, you are reacting to the market more than likely. If you're a listing agent, you're being proactive. You're going and taking a listing that's not on the market, setting it up so that it's ready to hit the market, and then you're going to market that home. So by being proactive, then you're going to, in going for the listings, you are going to have more control over some of those things we talked about. You'll also know where you're going to work, because if the house is located in Shawnee, Kansas, you know that's where you're going to work. If you take a buyer who lives in Shawnee right now in an apartment, they may want to live in Shawnee. They may choose to live somewhere else. And so wherever they're choosing to shop for a home, that's where you're working. And they may say, you know what, I like Shawnee, but I also like DeSoto. Okay, that's fine. DeSoto's a little bit further out. Okay, well, I like Lawrence. Well, are you willing to drive to Lawrence? Okay, so you have less control because you don't know where that person's going to land. They don't know where they're going to land. So just by having a buyer versus having a seller, you're going to have a different experience with that. When you are being proactive, when I said proactive with sellers, getting those sellers, the best agents are the agent, in my opinion, the best agents in this business are the agents that have figured out how to get listings. Not buyer's agents. They're the people who figured out how to get listings. They have the most control over where and when they work. Getting listings, I believe, is more challenging. And in my case, I mean, you don't have to do this. There's a million ways to get listings, but I choose to cold call to get a lot of my listings. Buyer leads are more easily purchased. So we'll get into all that later, but getting a seller is usually a little bit tougher on the front end, but it's a little bit easier on the back end. The reverse is true when you're working with a buyer. Okay, thanks for that question, Michael. And that was a very good one. Let's check out the next one. So is it better to start solo or go on a team? And that was from Dan Westling. So I appreciate you, Dan, for taking the time to watch this video and also to submit that question. Is it better to start solo, like all by yourself as a real estate agent that's a one-man or a one-woman army, or to start as part of a team that's already established? And the answer is, it's dependent on what you're trying to accomplish. If you are trying to make a lot of money in a short period of time, get really good at one or a few skills related to selling and real estate, and they're specific to selling and real estate, and to get really good at those skills, you should be on a team. If you want to be a specialist, you need to be on a team. If you think, I'm the person that, I want to be the one who's writing the offers, who's got the relationship with the clients, who attends closings on closing day, and, that sort of thing, you need to be on a team. If you are more thinking about, I need to be an employer, I need to worry about brand, identity, I need to figure out strategies for winning in the marketplace, I need to learn about, financials, business financials, and I'm willing to forego getting paid for a few years so that I can build this baby, and then when it becomes an adult, it's going to start paying dividends. If you're willing to do that, then you should be either a solo agent, but really the word is you need to be a business owner. Okay. I don't recommend people go solo if their intent is to, stay solo. There are too many people. I've read this book, The E-Myth by Gerber, and it talks about how one of the biggest problems in our country is that there's people who start out building a business and they fail because they think they're the one who's supposed to be doing everything rather than giving jobs and tasks and responsibilities and direction to people who are going to do things. And so with a lot of solo agents, there's probably I would guess half of the real estate agents in the metro are solo agents. And I don't want to sound like I'm knocking solo agents, but the idea of being a solo anything in business, I'm against, because I don't think that you can give your clients the full experience of what you want to accomplish with them when you're all by yourself and you're limiting you're limiting their experience. You're not going to be good at everything. So you need to figure out what do I want to get really good at, and leverage other people as a team to do the things that you're not good at. I kind of breezed over one thing a minute ago, which was with regard to when you're going to get paid. If you're somebody who wants to be, a high money earner and you need to get paid immediately, and you don't necessarily want to worry about things like overhead, office space and marketing and all those sorts of things that cost money, you should definitely be on a team. And this goes for real estate, but I think it goes for, in my opinion, anyway, it goes for other things too, other businesses too. If you are okay floating your own finances for a while, you absolutely should consider building a business. So thanks, Dan, for that question. The next one, and this one also, I'm going to read this question, which is a question that I get sometimes, but I didn't get it in the comments, but I was going to go ahead and answer it right now, which is, would I be good at being a real estate agent? And when I say I mean you. Would you be good as a real estate agent, as a realtor? And here's what my opinion is on being a good real estate agent. Is number one, you have to have ambition, because I think that ambition kind of fuels your willingness to learn, your willingness to go out and put yourself out there and meet new people, your willingness to cold call, your willingness to perfect your craft. If you don't have big goals and dreams for your life and your finances and your family, it's very difficult to make the case for why you should be spending nights and weekends trying to get really, really good at what you do, and doing a lot of work. If you don't have big goals, I don't think this is the right field for you. Sorry. So everything else stems from that. You have an unlimited earning potential as a real estate agent. And so you need to remember that, take advantage of that. And another thing I would think, there's all the other stuff that you probably already know. You need to be outgoing. In my opinion, you need to be outgoing. You need to be disciplined enough to tell yourself every day, you have to get good at the skills of selling. You have to get good at it. You have to study it. You have to be around other people who are getting good at it. And if you're not willing to study, like let's say you're not willing to read and to study and to learn from others, and you are more closed-minded and you're hard-headed, this is probably not that good of a field for you. Mostly because there's a lot of aspects that you have to learn to being a real estate agent, but also it's changing so quickly because of the technology that we all are being exposed to, that if you just pigeonhole yourself, you put blinders on, and you're not open to what's actually going on, you're going to get passed by. What you're doing will be irrelevant in 5 years, more than likely. I do think though that if you are ambitious, you like people generally, if you have empathy for people, like if you can actually shut down, like Eben Pagan is a guy who is in marketing and sales, and he's a trainer and motivational speaker and a lot of things. And he has this idea that, some people can shut down what they've got going on here and then tune into what the other person on the other side of the screen or the other side of the table is thinking about and talking about. And there are some people who can't do that. If you can't shut down what you've got going on and turn on your empathy machine and listen and feel what that other person is feeling, I don't think you're going to be good at this business. I don't think you're going to be good at selling. And it's going to be difficult for you because you're not going to be able to communicate effectively with them because you can't listen to them and really understand what it is they're saying. And then you can't convince them to make a decision to use you because you can't communicate with them. And not only that, but you'll never be able to fully serve them the way they need to be served, meaning your clients and your prospects, because you don't understand them. So that's another question that I get a lot. Let's move on. This is another question from Michael Bross, and it's, what is the average % commission on a sale? And how are real estate agents paid? So if you haven't sold a home before, you probably don't know the answer to this. Even if you've bought a home before, you probably weren't told by your real estate agent exactly how commissions work, because it's less relevant when you buy a home than when you sell a home. The average commission in real estate, there was a time not too long ago when the average commission was 7%, and that has since eroded to now the average percent is 6%. Or so a lot of real estate agents around the metro would like to think. 6% means that you sell a $100,000 house, the total commission earned will be $6,000. Now, if you are only one of two agents in the deal, because you might be only representing one party, the other party might be represented by some other agent, then the commission is split, and it's split usually down the middle. And if we're talking about a full 6% commission on a $100,000 sale, each side of the deal would get $3,000. So if you think about things like that, you're probably thinking, wow, $3,000, that's a lot of money. Well, it is, but you have to remember back another question we already answered. Do you want to go solo, or do you want to be part of a team? If you're part of a team, like let's say you're part of a team, meaning you are at a brokerage that you don't own. You have a team lead that's maybe giving you the lead, maybe giving you some marketing materials and some advice. Maybe you have an assistant who you have to pay, and you've got somebody that processes your paperwork for you. These people are paid out of the $3,000 that your side has earned. So a typical commission of 6% paid, split $3,000 and $3,000. The $3,000 that your side gets will not all go to you, more than likely, because you'll need to pay your broker, you'll need to pay the people on your team, and a lot of people forget this too, you have to pay taxes on it. That money is pre-tax, so you're going to be probably paying 40% of that to the government, depending on your tax bracket. And what are you really left with? Maybe $1,000, after it's all said and done. Maybe 15. I don't know. It just kind of depends on where you are. Every brokerage is going to have a different split. So there's a lot of people who are, and I know with EXP and Platinum and some other brokerages, they do offer lower fees, and it's just like anything. You have to figure out what works for you. What is it you're looking for in a brokerage? If you're just looking for a building where you can go in and use a computer, then that's going to cost you a certain price. If you're looking for a more robust brokerage that's going to have in-house attorneys, and they're going to have training for you, and they're going to have leads for you, and they're going to be able to do website development and things like that, you're going to be paying a different price per transaction, and you expect that. It's just like anything in life. You're probably going to get what you pay for. So at the beginning of that answer, though, average percent made on a sale. Being a real estate agent, I've been exposed to a lot of weird, sort of borderline ethical marketing, and it goes something like this. We're number one. I think pretty much everybody, maybe except me, is the number one real estate agent. And I'm still working on that. So a lot of people say they're number one, right? And that doesn't always mean like the money that they make. A lot of people measure real estate by their volume. You sell a $100,000 house, your volume as an agent, closed volume, is $100,000. And there's certain agents who they track their volume that they've sold for the year. I'm a $5 million a year agent. I'm a $10 million a year agent. My team sold $15 million last month in real estate. Okay, that is different than how much money you're getting paid. And if you don't know that, then those things can be unclear to you either as a consumer or as an agent. You might have unrealistic expectations of what you should be making or can make in this business. you need to understand that not everybody will set the same commission rate across the board. If I go on a listing appointment, I will quote a client a certain percentage that I'm willing to sell their home for. Let's just say I'm gonna list their home, I'm gonna sell their home, and my commission is the total commission they're gonna pay is X. Okay. Now, if another person is interviewed, that person doesn't necessarily have to charge X. They can charge more or less. It's dependent on you, if you're a solo agent, whatever you want to charge. If you're part of a team, it's whatever you are going to charge and whatever your team lead's okay with. Your team lead's kind of like your manager, right? And if you're part of a brokerage, there are some brokerages that even have a problem with you adjusting your commission one way or the other. So you have to get clearance from your various levels of supervision to make sure that you are charging what they think is okay. And why would people charge different amounts? Well, it all comes down to you get what you pay for. It's just like the brokerage. If you're only looking for, a few things, you can probably do it for less money. If you have a more robust marketing package, you have a more robust way of selling the home, and you can convey that to a seller, you'll be able to get more for your time and trouble. And so there's some agents out there that will list homes for 7% or more. There are some agents who will list homes. I say list, I'm meaning they will work to sell a home for 7% or more. There's some agents that will do it for free. I've seen free listings before. I've seen listings where the agent is not getting paid on the transaction, and they're giving their services away. So the average commission in probably the metro is probably closer to 4.5%, if I had to guess, between 4.5 and 4. I'd say 4.5 to 4.75% total commission, because typically, not always, but typically, buyers agents are going to be paid about 3%. The buyer brokerage is going to be paid 3% before, they're going to be paid 3%. And it's usually the listing agent that's going to be making some kind of a modification of his or her own commission. Hopefully if that makes sense, or does not make sense, let me know and I can maybe rephrase it. So the last question that I've gotten, and I want to, if there's anything else you guys want me to answer, I can, is, and this is probably the one, I made up this question again, nobody asked it, but it's important, is how do I get money? How do you actually make money as a real estate agent? Like, what's the process? I understand you, I see you, Edward, I see you driving around, and I see you at all these different addresses, and I see you make these videos or photos. How do you make money from that? I see you doing open houses. How do you actually make money from that? The only way you're going to make money in this business is to learn how to sell. No amount of real estate knowledge as a real estate agent, no amount of real estate knowledge will get you paid, in my opinion. The only thing that's going to get you paid is selling, learning how to sell, and more specifically, closing a deal. You only get paid when you close a deal. If you cannot close, you cannot eat in this business. That's what makes it incredibly brutal and very different from what you might be looking at in terms of a job today. There's a lot of businesses that pay people for their time instead of paying people for their results. I have worked in jobs before where your results are not as important as the time that you spend in your chair at your cubicle or, in a certain business. If you spend more time there, you're going to make more money. If you spend less time there, you're either going to get fired or you're going to make less money, or you're going to get passed up for a promotion. Not true as a real estate agent. Your money that you make is directly proportional and only equivalent to the deals that you close. can you close? The more closings you get, the more money you make. You don't make money for going to open houses. Nobody pays me for my time at an open house. Nobody pays me for my time as a real estate, doing this real estate video for you guys on Facebook. I don't get paid for posting a house on Snapchat. I don't get paid for coming into the office and making cold calls, which I do. I don't get paid for recruiting or training or reading, I guess is part of training. I don't get paid for going to meetings, broker meetings, team meetings. I don't get paid for any of that, talking on the phone to anybody. Only thing I get paid for is closing a deal. And if you cannot close a deal and get to the point where you understand the process, where you take a person from the very beginning, you don't know them at all, and you're taking them and you're pushing them down the funnel to the point where they're at the closing table and they're signing a document. If you don't know how to build that funnel, then you need to learn how to sell. You need to learn how to sell, and then you'll learn how to build that funnel. But if you can get people to pop out of that funnel at the very bottom, the very end of that funnel, where they drop out of the funnel into the cup, that's when you get paid. That's the only time you get paid. There's plenty of books, there's plenty of videos and materials out there and seminars and things to learn how to get you the money that you want. But I know, watching people come into this business over and over again, this is not explained in real estate pre-licensing courses. It's not explained by most brokers. And it's not explained by agents that you might be dealing with that are considered your mentor, or whatever you want to call it, your coach. Focusing on closings is the only way you're going to be able to control how much money you make in this business. A lack of closings will result in a lack of money, which will result in more stress, which will result in a lower quality of service for your clients, which will mean you will have less clients because they are less likely to refer you to their friends and family. They're less likely to do business with you again in the future. And they're probably more likely to say bad things about you online when they're reviewing you. So more closings means you have more money, which means you have less stress, which means that you can take your less stressed self out to your clients and be the best self that you have, and people are going to like you. It's like a vicious circle. And the way that you get started and get out of the circle that you may be in, where you're not getting paid, then you're in a bad mood, you don't have the money that you want, you're pissing your clients off, or you're being rude to your clients unintentionally because you're stressed, and then they're walking away, and then you're not making the money from those deals. And the way to get off of that roller coaster and get onto the other roller coaster is, and I'll leave you with this, you have to make a decision to go out and take action on selling and closing deals. The very top of the pipeline, we talked about the bottom of the pipeline. The funnel is the closing part. That's the part you get paid for. The way that you even get somebody into the hopper, the way you even get them into the funnel, is through prospecting. Prospecting is the answer to getting people at the bottom of the funnel. If you don't prospect regularly, more than likely you're going to have difficulty keeping your pipeline full, keeping people consistently coming to the closing table, and you're going to have trouble keeping your business afloat. Here's a question from Mark Edwards, which is, and I'm done with that topic. If you want me to elaborate more on that, I can. Question from Mark Edwards. Okay, honestly, does it matter what school you attend, or what do you recommend? So thanks for the question, Mark. And when I went to school for my licensing courses, there was a place, I think and it was in the Northland. I did my Missouri courses first, and it was on North Oak or Vivian, some Vivian Road, something like that. It was okay. You can do your classes there. You can also do your classes at the Ward Parkway Shopping Center. There's a place inside the mall, and that's fine too. I would recommend that you either go to the first place that I mentioned, or you go to the Ward Parkway place. The Ward Parkway place is a pretty safe bet. You can go in there, and then it's also nice because you have a place to like walk around, get food, because these classes can get long. And it's pretty centrally located too, because if you're anywhere in the metro, you can pretty much get to that little area. It's not too far to drive. What you want to watch out for, oh, and then if you're a Reese Nichols agent or you're thinking about becoming a Reese Nichols agent, get in contact with me and I could get you into the classes at Reese Nichols, which, although I have not taken them, from what I hear, they are way more streamlined. They're way more fun. You learn more, and the pass-fail rate is a lot higher on the pass side when you're a Reese Nichols learner and you're taking the classes at Reese as opposed to just taking them at XYZ company. Here's what I'd recommend you don't do, and I'm telling you, and people still don't listen to me. Sometimes. I mean, a lot of people do, but some people are just so against what I'm telling you right now. Check this out. If you want to become a real estate agent, you have to go physically to the classes and take the classes. You can't do it online. If you think you're going to do it online, you're going to quit. There's like a 99.9% chance you're going to not become an agent. The classes that are offered online, the ones I've seen, are abominable. They are impossible to understand. You have to have technical support, usually, because they don't operate correctly. There's questions that they ask that are unclear. You think you're getting the right answer, and you're really not. And there's nobody to ask a question to. Literally everything bad about what your worst fears are when you are becoming an agent and you're going through those licensing classes, all of those are confirmed when you do your classes online. You feel alone. You feel like you don't have anybody to talk to or to ask questions. There's less IT support. I mean, I've had people that I know try to do the online classes, and the class itself, the technology itself is messed up. It takes much longer. People oftentimes think that you can get your classes done faster if you do them online, because that way you can just speed through them. And all that's going to happen is you're going to be very disappointed, because first of all, you're not going to learn hardly anything. And second of all, you're going to more than likely not pass the test because you didn't learn anything, which means you're going to spend more money because you're going to have to take the class multiple times. And what else? I mean, it's going to be a lot harder. It's going to be harder to capture your attention. I have not seen ones where there are videos, so it's going to be all reading. And who wants to read on a screen? I mean, does anybody read anything off of a computer screen anymore for long periods of time? We don't. We're not designed physically to be able to stare at a computer screen and read text for hours and hours and hours. It burn our eye sockets out. So that's the only option for you if you're going to do it online, and I don't recommend that you do it. I do recommend that you go to a physical location, get around people that already know, like without any hesitation or uncertainty at all, that they're going to become an agent, and sit next to those people and ask a lot of questions during class. You'll find when you go to class, at least like when I went to the Ward Parkway one and when I went to the one on North Oak, that 2/3 of that class, at a minimum, I would say 80% of that class will not become the caliber of real estate agent that will actually make this into a career. You're looking at people that are going to come in their pajamas. They're going to come in like they just rolled out of bed. There's going to be people there that are, eating and stuff during class and not taking it seriously, text messaging, talking during class. It is like stepping back into your public high school. And you don't want to sit around those people. You want to get to the front of the room, sit with the smart people who are going to be real estate agents, and you might meet one or two and become friends with them and do a deal later. And leave the losers to do whatever it is that they're going to do with their lives. They're either not going to complete the coursework, which is shocking because all you really have to do is show up. So there's a certain amount of people that are going to fall off for that, and there's a certain amount of people that are going to fall off because they can't pass the class, and there's going to be a certain amount of people that pass the class but they don't get their stuff turned in on time, so then they have to retake the test. I should say they're going to pass the test but they're not going to get their stuff turned in on time, so then they have to retake the test, and then they don't retake the test, and so they're back at square one again. They just, people who have difficulty managing their own lives, a lot of that in there. And real estate brings out a lot of very galvanized groups of people. You get the people who are super ambitious, smart, and they want to make something of their life, and then you have a lot of people who are just in it because for all the wrong reasons. A lot of things that they either read or saw that were untrue, and they thought that this was going to be quick and easy money. So if there aren't any other questions, I appreciate you guys watching. Feel free to smash that like button and share this if you think that there's somebody in your stream or somebody in your timeline that might be thinking about becoming a real estate agent, and maybe they'll learn something from this. And as always, I appreciate you guys watching these videos. It's the Stevens Group. Hashtag the Stevens Group and hashtag Edward Stevens coming at you to answer your questions. If you got questions still and you don't want to ask them now, feel free to ask them later. Just drop them in the comments of this once it hits my timeline. All right, talk to you later, guys. Have a good evening. Bye-bye.